Today we're going to sew a basic skirt. For the basic skirt, I have 4 pattern pieces. I do have a skirt piece for the front, a skirt piece for the back, as well as the matching front and back facing pieces. The first thing I do is lay out my fabric on the fold. So you can see the selvages of the fabric are matching each other, and I laid out my fabric on the grain with the front of the skirt attaching right at the fold. Now my pattern pieces are on cardboard. I've traced them out on cardboard because I'm using this quite a lot. So I want it to be durable and easy to handle. However, when you're cutting out a commercial sewing pattern, you'll most likely have it on tissue paper, in which case you can just pin it onto your fabric and cut around it. I'm also going to lay out my back skirt. Again, aligning the edge of the pattern with the straight grain. And you can see here that I've got the straight grain marked on my center back facing pattern as well. So I'm aligning this with the grain of the fabric too. Here I've got my marking for cutting on fold. So my front facing will be laid out to be cut on fold as well. Your facing pieces are attached to the waist of your skirt and then turned inside to finish the raw edge and give your skirt a nice, neat finish. Hold your pattern to stop it from shifting, and using your tailor's chalk, you want to mark around the edge of the pattern in a color that is contrasting and shows up quite well on your fabric. So mark the arms of your dart, but also mark the points of your darts. So I'm using a pin. Trace around all your pattern pieces. Once you've marked your pattern, you can take off the pattern pieces. If you've put a pin through your dart point, very carefully hold the pin down and move the pattern piece up to create only a small hole. This is easier on a paper pattern than it is on a cardboard pattern. Take your fabric scissors and cut around your pattern pieces. Now you might want to put a few pins in just along the major points to stop your fabric from shifting as you're cutting it. This ensures that all the edges of your fabric are the same and your pattern piece doesn't turn out wonky. And allows for a straighter line. Now I'm going to make a little snip just where I've marked the top of my darts, so that when the tailor's chalk rubs off, I still have the pattern pieces marked. As you're snipping into the fabric, do make sure that your snips or your notches don't go further than your seam allowance. So if you've got a 1 centimeter or 1.5 centimeter seam allowance, you really don't want your notches to be longer than maybe 3 to 5 millimeters. Otherwise, as you're sewing up your skirt, you will have a hole there. Cut out your facing pieces too. These are 2 pattern pieces, so if I take this apart, I won't know where the dart point is on the other side. So what I want to do is take out my pins and then carefully flipping over the pattern, I'm going to take one pin and pop it right where the other pin pops out. The same for the other dart. So now as I pull my fabric apart, all my darts are marked. I now know that where the pin goes in is the point of the dart. Before I'm ready to sew, I might just go and put the pins in anyway without shifting the first entry point. So that way I can pop them out of the way and I know my darts end here and there. You're nearly there. One more thing to go. You can see as I'm folding up my skirt facing pieces that face the waist, I'm going to end up sewing them in the front here and turning them over. At the moment this looks smaller, but once the darts are sewn up, we're going to lose some width here and this will mold and fit perfectly. In order to give your waist a nice crisp finish, we want to interface the facing pieces. Interfacing is a very light fabric. You can get it in different weights. It means you can get one that's a little bit heavier if you're working with heavy fabric, so one that's a little bit lighter. So here I've got a light to medium weight interfacing. And I'm going to go and sew that onto my facing piece just to reinforce it and stop any crinkles and creases from developing. So I need to just go and lay this back out and take my pattern pieces for the facings. For the front, I'm folding my interfacing in half and I take my front facing piece and I mark around it. Just like I did with the fabric piece. And I cut it out. This is going to be attached to the wrong side of my fabric facing piece. We have one front facing and matching interfacing. Same for the back. And we have one large front piece that we cut on the fold and opened up with the darts marked. And we have one pair of back pieces with the darts marked as well. So this is ready to go and sew now.